don't have to keep it with the RBI.
I'm sorry?
We do not have to keep it with the bank.
No, the tenure. If you look at,
Yeah.
personal loan is for 5 years, car loan is for 7 years, consumer durable loan will be for 2 years or 3 years. So all other loans are very, they are for shorter duration. So change in interest rate might not be so much, but a home loan can be for as long as 20 years or 30 years. Therefore, in this case, the interest rates can change. And that is what has happened. So people who had taken home loan, say 5 years back, they would have taken at 10% or 8%. But now it is 6.65. So the duration of mortgage is high. Mortgage loan is big, and therefore you have a chance to refinance.
Ma'am, in this case,
Yeah.
interest rate and time duration both are inversely proportional.
I'm sorry, risk and time.
No, ma'am. In interest rate
Yeah.
and time both are inversely proportional. As soon as the time will increase, the interest rate will be lesser than the time.
No,
Because, ma'am, it's a for long term period, so interest
rate
rate
would
also.
not change, amount would change. So if I have to pay
Yeah.
10%, I will have to keep on paying 10%. But if my principal has reduced from 10 lakhs to 6 lakhs, now I will have to pay 10% of 6 lakhs. Earlier I was paying 10% of 10 lakhs. So yes, in that case, the interest will decrease. But the interest rates and time do not have any
Changes.
correlation. Interest rate changes as per the monetary policy. So we've been seeing that RBI has been maintaining an accommodative policy where it is not uh, increasing the interest rates. So it was following an expansionary policy where it was trying to reduce the interest rates, and the interest rates have reduced to all-time low. So interest and time do not have any correlation. It will depend on the monetary policy. Yes, the interest, obviously the interest you have to pay will reduce with time.
Yeah, so that
Because if your principal, so for the EMI which we talk about has a component of principal plus a component of interest. So the principal you keep on paying, obviously you will not have to pay interest on it. So interest will keep on reducing. Interest, not interest rate. Interest rate will remain the same.
Yeah. मैम प्लीज एक बार कॉल ऑप्शन आप फिर से बता दीजिए.
कॉल का क्या मतलब है? अगर इंग्लिश में हम बोले कॉल, तो हिंदी में क्या मतलब है? बुलाना.
कॉल या
तो कंपनी क्या करती है? वो डिबेंचर्स बुला लेती है वापस. The company had issued a debt where it has to pay 10%. Now the prevailing interest rate, it can issue security at 8%. So rather than paying 10%, the company will call for that debentures back and issue fresh debentures at 6%. That is what it is.
Ma'am, it is like callable bonds.
Callable, yeah, that is what callable bonds.
Okay.
So for refinancing involves revaluation of person's business credit terms and credit status. Consumer loans typically considering for finance are including mortgage loan, car loans, and student loan, because they are long-term loan. You don't see personal loan or consumer durable loan because these are shorter-term loans. So business investors may seek also to refinance mortgage loan on commercial properties. Many business investors will also evaluate their corporate balance sheets for business loans issued by creditors that could benefit from lower market rates or an improved credit profile. So the current rate environment is typically a key catalyst for loan refinancing. Other factors that trigger a refinance can be credit score. An improved credit score, I can take more loans. A change in long-term financial plan, I might want more loan. So here also is an opportunity. So see, you will have to look at for sales opportunity everywhere. So you go to a customer, he said, no, I already have a loan. Okay, sir, you already have a loan at what rate? If your bank rate is lesser than that rate, you can easily refinance that loan. So it is that is what the bank is looking at. The bank is looking at people who can look at how one product of the bank can be can be sold to this person, right? So that's why we are looking at various products. So even if the customer says, no, I'm not in a need of loan, I do not need any loan, I already have a housing loan running. Compare the interest rates. If the interest rates of that loan is higher, give him a product which will offer him a lower interest rates. So a refinance occurs when a previous loan has been revised in terms of interest rate, payment schedule, and terms. A refinance involves the revaluation of the person or business credit terms and credit status. Consumer loans often considered for refinancing include mortgage loan, car loans, or student loans. So basically, the main aim of refinancing is to reduce the interest outflow. So a common goal is to pay less interest over the life of the loan. So borrowers may also want to change the duration of loan or switch from a fixed rate to an adjustable rate mortgage or vice versa. So they can change from a fixed rate to a floating rate or whatever. So you can, basically it means that even if you have taken a loan, there are ways to change it. There are several types of refinancing options. The type of loan a borrower decides on depends on the need of the borrower. So rate and term of refinancing, cash out refinancing, cash in refinancing, consolidation refinancing. So the most common terms in refinancing is called rate and term. This occurs when original loan is paid and replaced with a new loan requiring lower interest payments. So cash outs are common when underlying asset collateralized the loan increases in value. The transaction involves withdrawing the value or equity in assets in exchange for a higher loan amount. So in other words, when asset increase in value on paper, you can gain access to the value with loan rather than by selling it. The option increases the total loan amount but gives the borrowers access to cash immediately while still maintaining ownership of an asset. So best example can be a loan on securities. So for example, you have taken a loan on Infosys shares. So Infosys shares 5 years back was trading at some around 700, 800 rupees. And the bank gave you say 50% of the share value. So you got 400 per share. Okay. Today, if you look at Infosys share value is 1600, right? So instead of 400, you can get 800. So that is what it means, that you can get more money out of the same loan. Cash in refinance allows the borrowers to pay some portion of the loan for a lower loan to value ratio or smaller loan payment. So ये हमने देखा था when we were looking at the example where two banks had borrowing based the repo transaction, if you remember. So we have seen in case the value of the security decreases, the customer has to bring in more asset to maintain the LTV. Then there can be consolidation refinance. So multiple loan with various interest merge into one loan and same interest amount is paid. So in some cases, a consolidation loan may be effective way of refinance. A consolidation refinancing can be used when an investor obtain a single loan at a rate that is lower than their current average interest rate across several credit products. This type of refinancing requires a customer or business to apply for a new loan at a lower rate and then paying off existing debt with the new loan, leaving their total outstanding principal with substantially lower interest rate payments. So if you understand the word credit, Refinancing, there is nothing to explain in these. So interest rate environments are cyclic and as such are followed closely by consumers as businesses for new credit as well as credit refinance. So we have seen this, like when the interest rates are low, people want to take more loan, right? And if the interest rates have reduced, people might consider credit refinancing. The national monetary policy, economic cycle, and market competition can be key factors causing interest rates to increase or decrease for consumers and businesses. During economic valleys, interest rate may be lowered to help stimulate consumer spending and business investment. Economics in an expansion will typically see interest rates rising as the economy improves. Now, these factors can influence interest rates across all type of credit products, including both non-revolving loans and revolving credit cards. In the rising rate environment, the debtors with floating interest rates product can expect to see their interest rates automatically increase and vice versa with a decreasing rate environment. So basically, everybody is concerned when a borrower, all borrowers will be concerned with interest rates and they will look at the cheapest way of borrowing. So whether it is a borrowing by the company or borrowing by an individual, people will be looking at the cheapest way of borrowing. So in case the interest rates have decreased substantially, people will look at refinancing their loans. Now let us look at structured finance. This is a way of funding business. So structured products are one of the most important part of investing money. This is a type of investment that is created to cater specific investment and return needs for customer. Such needs may not be met by standardized financial planning. Structured product can be used to replace various type of direct investment as part of asset management and utilize current market trend. So we have still not seen it, but when we look at financial planning, we have touched upon it in many topics. So financial planning basically means to first understand the customer and then giving the products which meet his financial goals. Okay. But that way you cannot guarantee returns. In structured finance, you can guarantee the return. So let us understand structured finance in a better way. So a structured product, also known as market-linked investment, is a pre-packaged investment strategy based on derivatives such as a single security, a basket of securities, options, indices, commodities, debt issuance, or foreign currencies, and to a lesser extent so. So all these are very technical kind of financial instruments, which not be very familiar with the general public might not be very familiar. So here the fund manager or the financial professional steps in to manage the money of the investors using all these products to generate better returns for him. However, structured products are safer because they guarantee the principal. So we know whenever you are investing in a financial product, there is a risk, and the risk and returns are directly proportional. Now, if the customer wants to get better returns, he will have to also take more risk, right? But if a customer does not want to take risk, how will you generate returns for him? So structured product is a way. So structured product is actually a way of investing in such a way that the customer is not at loss. The focus is here to ensure that the capital of the customer is protected. Okay. So, for example, a customer has given you rupees 5 lakhs and he wants capital protection. At least whatever happens, at least he wants his money back, or 5 lakh back. If you invest in shares, it can become 6 lakhs. It has the capability of becoming 6 lakhs, but then it is not sure. It can become 4 lakhs also. So the fund manager doesn't want to take that risk. So what he does is he invests, for example, 4 lakhs in a deep discount bond. Now, you remember what is a deep discount bond? You guys remember the deep discount bond? Hello?
Sorry,
You've seen
ma'am.
it?
Not remembering.
Do not remember deep discount bond.
Discount bond. Right?
Zero coupon bond.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
What is zero coupon bond?
Zero
Zero.
interest rate.
Zero interest rate.
Coupons are paid.
So why will the customer invest if he is not getting any money? Why will he invest?
Once more, ma'am, please.
My question is, why, if the customer is getting not getting any interest, why will he invest? Why will a customer invest if he is not getting any interest?
Ma'am, the fund manager has invested only 4 lakh on zero coupon one bond.
Yes.
Still, 1 lakh is remaining.
Yes. But first,
We can-
understand that why he is investing in a zero coupon bond. First, we have to understand that, then we will go to the rest 1 lakh. So why will you invest in a zero coupon bond or a deep discount bond? So that was my question. What is a deep discount bond? Or a zero coupon bond?
Ma'am, chances of loss are very
Ma'am,
less.
the
Yes,
face value of the bond is discounted, right, ma'am?
correct. Very good. Very good. So a zero coupon bond or a deep discount bond is issued at a discount to the face value, right? So for example, the bond is for 5 lakhs. It is discounted. That means when the bond mature, you will get 5 lakhs. You're investing 4 lakhs. When the bond matures after 3 years, you will get 5 lakhs. Okay. So the fund manager invests 4 lakhs in a deep discount bond, and he, ensures that he will get rupees 5,000 of 5 lakhs after 3 years, right? So now he's left with 1 lakh rupees. Now what he will do? He will invest this amount in riskier securities. Why will he invest in riskier securities?
Higher the risk, higher the interest rate.
Yes. So he's taking some amount of risk to ensure some amount of returns, right? So if he invests in, say, shares in equity, and this becomes 1,20,000. Now, the customer will get 6,20,000. He's very happy. He invested 5, he's getting 6,20,000, very happy. However, even if this doesn't make profit, so this becomes, say, 80,000. Right? Then also the customer is happy because he's getting 5,80,000. So that is what is structured product. Okay. Right? So this is how the structured product works. Understood? So here, instead of taking risk with the entire 5 lakhs, the fund manager is taking risk with only 1 lakh. He is ensured that 5 lakh rupees come whatever happened, right? And the rest, he would invest in riskier investment options to generate returns for the understood. Okay, well, let me just go through it. Probably then your understanding would be clear. So a bond, structured products combine growth potential with ability to protect your initial investment. A bond, this makes up mostly of the investment. It ensures you get your original capital investment back partially or fully, provided they are held until maturity and subject to credit risk of the issuer. And the second, the rest of your money is put into an option of financial instruments that's linked to the value of either a stock market index or price of another asset, such as gold. It is this option component that gives you the potential of higher return than you would get into from a standard deposit. And therefore, by combining the two products, the bond element mitigates the risk that the option component presents. Now, did you understand it? Hello? Yes, no, maybe. Anyone? Confusion?
No, ma'am.
Understood? So structured finance basically aim to protect the principal of the customer. So they ensure it by investing the money in market linked in a bond, in a fixed instrument, fixed interest instrument, because we know that a fixed instrument will obviously give you a fixed return. So you invest that. The rest of the money is then invested in riskier options to generate some return. Correct? Understood now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
So structured products have the ability to have numerous customized assumption into one single instrument. These tie up the client's money for a particular set of time with the possibility of giving an income, growth, or both in some cases. There are some, there are more risky, but they are also much more thoughtful investments. Direct investments such as stock, real estate can result in loss of money if the investment go wrong. But in this case, the structured product, it does not work as simple as just buying something and selling it on profit. So this is another example. If you invest 100 rupees in a product with a tenure of 36 months, 80 is invested in debt securities, which is giving you 7 to 8%, and 20 rupees is invested in Nifty. So thus, over a period of 36 months, you would get 20 rupees as interest on debt securities. So 100 rupees is back to its original value. If the Nifty doubles 40 months, INR 20 will become 40. Thus, the value of your 100 rupees will be 140 now. If the Nifty were to fall by say 50%, then INR 20 invested becomes 10, thereby giving back 110. At least he's getting something extra. So the strategy ensures that at given time, your capital is protected and you will get INR 100 back at the end of 36 months. While this is simple structure, more complex structures using quantitative strategy could be deployed depending on the risk profile of the investor to generate higher returns. So this is how it is. Zero coupon bond is taken. So the zero coupon bond. So zero coupon bond will give you the original value. And in case there is a loss in value, that can be made up by the by earning on the equity. So this I think can be understood clearly from this diagram. So guys, I please do not forget what we have been learning, because if you see, ये हमने बहुत पहले पढ़ा था, zero coupon bond and deep discount bond, but here you see the use. So whatever new topics you'll study will be built up on what we have studied earlier. So please keep in touch with whatever you have studied. So that is important, no? And I think once you understand it, it is you can remember it. So if you are studying for your test, study with an intention of understanding it and remembering it. And I also feel if you're active in the class, you are listening carefully, I think you will not find it difficult to remember. Fine. Okay, so there's nothing to mug up, because mugging up will not help you remember. You have to understand it and then remember. And once you've understood it, you will remember it for a lifetime. Okay. So that is what our structured product. So in above example is very basic and simplified structured product understanding. Purpose: the same basic structure when applied to alternative asset classes allows investor to take position on a wide variety of assets with a downside protection thrown in. So this is a way of risk management. When financial business involves risk, and you will have to look at the ways of minimizing this. And that is the role of the investment banker or the banker or the fund manager. They have to minimize the risk. So you can use various other products like commodities, bullion. Bullion means precious metals, international equity indices, and you suddenly have a range of investment alternative that you can now take a view on, seek to capitalize on a move in one direction or another, and yet have your principal protected if the call goes wrong. So this is a way of managing your risk. So options are kind of derivatives. Now, derivatives is a very, very complex subject, and it's very difficult to understand it over this short period of time. But what you can understand for derivative is the value of the derivative is derived from another asset class. So these derivatives are nothing physical. They are financial instruments whose value is derived from some other asset. So those are a derivative. So option is also a kind of derivative. So because you are dealing in world of options, you are not wedded to the notion that the market has only to go up for you to make money. So option is a kind of derivative where you have the option, as the word says, option to not settle. So so derivatives are financial contracts which have to be settled, at that expiry. But in option, you have the option whether to settle it or not. So just let me give you an example. So I get into a derivative contract with a person, and which is forward, for example. So that means I'll have to necessarily settle it. So I say that I will buy Infosys share at 1700 after 15 days. Now, because Infosys shares is trading around 1600 today, and I think that the market is going to rise and is going to be 1800. So I'm ready to buy it at 1700, right? There is another person who thinks, no, this is 1600. It's trading at 1600. I think it will be 1500 after 15 days. Okay. And he finds a buyer who's ready to buy it at 1700. A thing of 1500, somebody to buy at 1700. Good profit making opportunity for it. Both of them are, taking the risk, right? Now, after 15 days, whatever is the price of Infosys, whether it is 1800 or 1500 or 1600, I will buy at 1700, whereas the seller will have to sell it at 1700. Even if it is 1800, the seller will have to sell it at 1700. So this has to be done. However, in option, the buyer of the contract can not settle the contract. So for example, I have bought a option, call option, saying that I will buy it at 1700, but the price today is 1600. So I say, no, I'm not going to buy. I had given you a token, keep that token, but I'm not going to buy because that will be a loss, right? So that is what is an option. So here you can, reduce your risk by buying an option. So if you believe the market will crash, buy a structured product whose option seek is to play with that scenario. If you believe one sector will do either very well or very bad, look to make money from the move, whether up or down. So the central idea behind a structured product investment is to look for opportunities where you believe in an asset class will move significantly one way or the another, and seek to make money from that move with some downside protection zone. So anybody who's investing, invest with the aim of making profit. But we don't know whether we will make profit or it will be a loss because of uncertainty. So with these investment products, you can reduce that risk. So benefits of structured product may include principal protection, depending on the type of structured product, tax efficient access to fully taxable investment, enhanced return within the investment. Whose mic is on? Enhanced returns within equity and ability to earn a positive return in no yield or flat equity market environment. So basically, you need to understand that apart from the plain vanilla investment, there are other complex financial instruments which can be used to reduce the risk. Sorry. So a structured product provides partial or full capital protection to get your capital investment back, has potential for higher return than you would get when from a standard deposit. By combining two products, the bond element mitigates the risk that the option component present. Disadvantage. So we've seen that the major investment is in a bond, which is subject to credit risk. What is credit risk? What is credit risk?
Not able to pay.
We are investing in a bond. A bond is always open to a credit risk.
Yeah.
Right? Then there is a lack of liquidity. That means you'll have to hold the product until maturity for getting the benefit. So they don't have the liquidity. So structured product really trade after issuance, and anyone looking to sell a structured product before maturity will have to sell it at a significant discount. Structured products are priced on a matrix, not asset value. Matrix pricing is essentially a best guess approach, and they're very complex. So we've seen that they involve derivatives and all that stuff. So they are highly complex. So the complexity of return calculation means that it is difficult to determine how the structured product would perform versus simply owing the underlying asset. Also, past performance is not indicative of the future returns. Investment can go down as well as up. This means you might get back less than what you've invested. Investment products are subject to investment risk, which include principal protection. And this is provided that they are held until maturity and are subject to issuer risk. This means you accept the risk that if the issuer fails and are an investment bank, you would lose your entire investment. They are highly customized. Structure of basic principle of a structured products is protection. So your protection is your principal is protected. Optimization, that means increasing your returns, participation in both profit and loss, and leverage. Leverage is the use of loans. So these are categories according to potential return and risk and product overall goal. So there are some structured focus products focus mainly on protection. These are good for investors who have low risk tolerance. The underlying asset in this package differ as per company and thus also differ in performance. However, if category aims for protection, this structured product would mostly cover bonds and money market more than securities and fast yielding markets. So investors who have high risk tolerance may invest in structured product and focus on optimization. The underlying asset in this package may cover more equities than then participation. This category goes with the price trend of the underlying asset. This category is called so because investors may join this just as to get exposure to the basket of funds that are not commonly invested in. This fits perfectly the investor who has moderate to high risk tolerance. So we've seen leverage is the maximum use of money. So investors who are on budget can maximize leverage and hedge their portfolio. Only those with extremely strong appetite for risk are advised to join the portfolio. Also, an in-depth knowledge of different financial market is needed. So structured product differ from company to company. It is hard to pinpoint definite types. This does not mean there's no official types of structured product. So now here they have given an example of structured products. So these are very, complex products. Interest rate swaps. Swaps means to change. So yen loans swapped with US dollar floating rate by Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, Industrial Finance Corporation of India. So one company was getting in yen, the other company was getting in the fund flow in US dollar. So they have exchanged it. And this is the interest rate. I don't know why it is here. It makes no sense in a corporate finance, but anyways. So coupon is the interest rate they're getting. So I think probably it is very complex for you guys to understand, but it talks about how people can generate money. So the pros or the benefit of structured product as we have seen is the first is the protection of the principal. They can be also used to hedge or speculate or to minimize your risk. Access hard to reach asset classes, customized investment payoff, diversification, yield enhancement, efficient execution of market view, offer other dimension for trading, that means volatility, correlation, path dependency, and resolve regulatory and market access restriction. Cons, it's very complex, as we have seen. It is difficult. The type of products you have, it is difficult. Understanding different investment characteristics, very poor liquidity we have seen. Fees can be high. Ordinary tax, income tax on principal protected notes. Upside returns are capped, fees can be high, no dividend from underlying investment, high bid offer spread, credit risk in issuing investment bank. So this is an example of structured finance. Now, structured product and structured finance are different. Finance, we know, corporate finance is about a company generating money or generating capital. It can be generated through debt, equity, or bank loan. There are now more complex products also in the market to help company generate funds. So this is one of this complex product which is using interest rate swaps for generating money. So for example, company B can borrow cheaper than A in both markets, but company B has competitive advantage in borrow from a fixed rate market. The comparative advantage is 80 basis point. This is shared between company A and company B and the bank. So these are very, very complex products because you might not be able to understand it. If you are not understanding, it is okay. ये बहुत complex है. It requires a very high understanding of the financial instruments, of how the financial market works. If you are not understanding as of now, it is perfectly okay. The only thing which we need to remember is when a company is raising finance, apart from the traditional ways available to him, it can also raise some money through structured finance. So these are also source of funding. तो किसी को भी ये समझ में आ रहा है? Is anybody
Yes, ma'am.
understanding this? Okay.
Yeah,
If
ma'am.
you're understanding, good enough, because it is very complex. I understand it is very complex, and if you ask me, it is not required to be learned at your level.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of
But
LIBOR?
just because LIBOR is London Interbank Offer Rate, so that's the rate which
Okay.
at which interest, money is borrowed. However, in India now, LIBOR is replaced by MIBOR. So RBI has also given instructions to the bank to replace LIBOR with MIBOR. MIBOR is Mumbai Interbank Offer Rate. So we'll use the local interest rate rather than the LIBOR. So basically, it gives an opportunity to a borrower to raise a cheaper capital. So here, interest rate swaps are used for deliver cheaper funding. So this we have understood in structured finance, in structured products. So structured, see, there is two things have been mixed up. One is structured finance and one is structured product. Structured product is an investment product which gives the opportunity to the investor for investment ensuring that his principal is protected. So those are structured products. Structured finance is a way of generating finance by banks or companies using complex products. Okay, so that is a thing. Both of them are mixed up. I will speak with the team to make it clearer, because here they are mixed up, the structured product as well as the structured finance. Both are two different things. So a structured finance, a structured product will have a lock-in. That means you cannot sell it until its maturity. It can be auto-callable. That means can early trigger redemption. They can be digital payoff. There is a cap on cumulative returns, because we are, the main aim is to minimize the risk. So returns will be lesser and lock in and lock out. So they average out risk or return. So if you look at a structured product is not taking too much risk, and therefore it will not have an opportunity to generate very high return as well. So I don't think you guys need to learn, know it at this point in time, because, but yes, you can know that the main aim of structured product is capital protection. So products are suitable for risk-averse investors. At maturity, the investors receive a minimum redemption equivalent to the capital protection level. Additionally, the investor may participate in the positive or negative performance of the underlying. The structured product can also look at yield enhancement. That is product suitable for investor with a moderate risk appetite, who expect the underlying to move sideways. Return potential is limited, with the risk involved being less than direct investment in underlying. So we have seen that you're not taking direct risk, you are mitigating your risk. Then participation product are suitable for investors with increased risk appetite who want unlimited participation in performance of underlying. The risk corresponds to the risk of a direct investment in the underlying. And leverage products are suitable for investors with a high risk appetite, like hedge funds used for short-term speculation. So here we talk about a lot of investment options, not traditional, different investment options, which might be little difficult for you to understand, because one, we have not understood investments completely, and second is it is not relevant to corporate finance. So I'll just skip this. Okay, this is important. Agriculture and MSME loan. What is MSME? MSME? Anyone?
Micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Yeah, so micro, small, and medium enterprises. These are not big corporates. These are small business. So a lot of time they also come under retail banking, because their loan requirement can be met by the bank, by the branch itself, right? There are two very important factors to India's economy, right? Agriculture. We know that India has been an agrarian economy, though the contribution of agriculture now is not substantial in the GDP, but still 60% of India's employment is generated by agriculture. And also MSME, because if you look at smaller places, you do not have big corporates coming in, but you have these small companies which generate employment. So anyone from Coimbatore here? Anyone from Coimbatore or Thrissur? No, all of you are from Chennai. Sharmila,
Yes, ma'am.
everybody is from
Salem.
Chennai.
No, ma'am. Salem.
No, ma'am.
Salem. Okay, Salem is a good example. Salem, what is the biggest industry there in Salem? Yes,
Which means,
Salem, what
ma'am?
is it? Salem. Somebody is from Salem, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what is the biggest industry in Salem, Karthik?
Steel plant, ma'am.
Steel plant, right? So steel is still, you'll have big companies coming in. But, look at Coimbatore. Why is Coimbatore famous for?
Monsoons. Cotton.
For cotton
Cotton.
and the sarees, right? So you will not have, a Reliance putting up a plant or a Tata putting up a plant. It is done by localites, right? Some places are famous for making agarbattis or other rural products. So you will not have very big companies coming in and setting up their business. You will have smaller companies. So MSME, even RBI plays a emphasis on MSME lending, and agriculture we know comes as a priority sector. That means the bank have to necessarily lend a certain percentage to this sector because the RBI wants to enable growth in this sector. So very important part of important part of lending. So we've seen, if you remember, when we were looking at the credit sanction by RBI or the role of RBI, we've seen that RBI gives does credit rationing and does give guidelines for lending. So one of it is lending to the priority sector. Priority, as we all understand, is something which is given more attention. So priority sector needs special attention for growth and improving availability of credit. So it can be agriculture, micro, small and medium enterprise, export credit, education, housing, social infrastructure, renewable energy. So RBI tells the banks that you have to lend at least 40% to these sectors. So banks have to achieve. So if a Tata wants a loan or a Reliance wants a loan, the bank will not think twice before giving them a loan. They will give the loan very easily. But if only those kind of people got loan, how will the other sector flourish? So therefore, government has put a condition that the banks necessarily need to lend to these sectors because the growth of the economy will come from these sectors. So agriculture loan or rural loan would mean loans for agriculture development or rural development. So commercial banks, particularly in developing countries, are now providing credit for development of agriculture and small scale finance industries in rural areas. The provision of credit to agriculture sector has generally helped in raising agriculture productivity and income of the farmers. So agriculture is a backbone of Indian economy, and this definitely comes as no surprise to see financial institutions offer monetary aid to farmers all across the country. Agriculture loans are available for different kind of farming related activities. It can be for buying seeds, it can be for buying pesticide, it can be for plowing the field, so for many things. So for running day-to-day operations, buying farm machinery such as tractors, harvesters, purchasing land, storage, product marketing loans, and expansion. Moreover, these financial aids can be offered in form of grants and subsidies too, which are usually meant to protect the farmers in event of crop damage or loss of crop. So agriculture loans are not only offered to farmers working towards cultivation of food crops, but they are available to anyone who's engaged in other agriculture related sector like horticulture, aquaculture, animal husbandry, silk farming, apiculture, and floriculture. So different kind of rural activities. So these are all, you would have, if anybody is connected to the village, you will know that there are some people who are raising fish. Then you have poultry farms, silk. Again, south, you have a lot of silk farming, apiculture, the bees, and floriculture, the flowers. So anything related with agriculture. So this is an old chart. This has changed. Okay. So this has changed. So tomorrow's homework, please get the new definition of micro, small, and medium. So the government, depending on the investment in plant and machinery, has classified these small businesses into micro, small, and medium enterprises. Basically, these can be classified as goods or services. So services where there is no manufacturing. Okay. Obviously, manufacturing will require more money, and therefore a larger investment is permitted in companies involved in that. So you can these MSME can be either in service or in goods or manufacturing or trading. Trading would basically be service. So this is an old definition, but find out what is a new definition of micro, small, and medium enterprises, because the finance minister has changed it during the pandemic. So why so much of focus? Now the focus is because they contribute a lot to exports and employment. So maybe the contribution to the GDP might not be that much, but they contribute a lot to exports. So for example, Moradabad, which is a small city in UP, does not have too much of business, but it is a very rich district because they have the export of brass items. So even Robert Vadera is from there. Okay. So it's a very rich district in UP because of these MSME. Okay. So these export units, if you look at exports unit, would be for saris or for cotton. So they're not very big companies, very capital intensive companies, but still they contribute a lot to the export. So earlier, these companies used to get, there were no proper way of these company to generate returns or generate capital. They used to ideally borrow in the unorganized sector. But now government, looking at the importance of these MSME, has come up with different products which will help them for generation of capital. So there's a large unmet demand for organized financing, especially from micro and small enterprises. This gap is currently being met by informal sector. Not all credit demand is viable. Only 30% of estimated addressable demand. So if you remember, when we were looking at types of bank, one type of bank we saw was small finance bank. Guys, remember small finance bank?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So small finance banks are also formed with the intention of financing these requirement of these type of companies. So it's a very big market and very good investment opportunity. However, as we've seen, everything is not viable, and banks might not be very hunky-dory about lending to this sector, but the government mandates that the bank lend to this. You can look at the distribution of MSME. If you look at Punjab and Himachal, major MSME clusters. So even if you look at, you all of us use HUL product, right? If you turn it over, you will see that most of the HUL products are manufactured in Baddi. Baddi is a place in Himachal Pradesh. So Himachal Pradesh opened up investments, opened up their economics for production, and they are major contribution of the MSME sector. So MP, for example, MP, West Bengal, Kerala, areas with MSME, significant MSME presence. And then if you look at states like UP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, this would be Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, they all have areas MSC presence as well as having MSC ME cluster. And so UP, I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but UP has launched this campaign called ODP, one district, ODOP, one district, one product. So they are working on this because they have realized that the only way for development is to encourage the local economy. So you can't have big companies coming and setting business. If that happens, very good, because it will generate employment. But that is not happening because not many people are keen to come and do business, especially in the Bimaru states, which is Bihar, UP, and all those states. People are not very keen to come and do business. So they are not coming. So how do we generate employment? We generate employment by enabling people. So I think by now you should all have understood the function of a bank. It is not about account opening. Yes, it opens account, that is good, but the main function of the bank is to support the economy, right? So if the bank supports entrepreneurship or the national talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-sufficiency, is because if you or entrepreneurship. So these terms, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but when we were growing up or when we were looking for employment opportunities, these words were not there, because that time sufficient jobs were created by the private sector and the government. In today's time, it is becoming very difficult because all the jobs are being automated. So how do we generate employment? These are some ways by which we can generate employment. That's why so much emphasis on MSME lending, because if you lend to that sector, they will generate employment in the rural sector, and this will contribute to the economy. So when the bank is lending, it will look at the value proposition. What is the business understanding, speed, predictability, debt consolidation? Then what is the differentiation? Then what are the focus area? How they are going to expand, and what is their foundation? So these are the things which they will look at. So this is a chart telling you what are the value propositions. So 68% of is consist of manufacturing sector, 32% of the service sector. No, service is more, sorry. Service is 68 and 32% is manufacturing. Anyway, India is lacking in manufacturing. If you compare India's economy with China's economy, we lack in manufacturing. So 32% of total MSME were engaged in manufacturing sector, 60 in service sector. Retail trade accounts for the largest subsegment within MSME service space. Then you have manufacturing and apparel textile is largest segment within the manufacturing. So the example I was giving you in down south is Coimbatore and Mysore. Then in North India, you would have, Banaras is very, has the Banarsi saris and all are very export oriented and all that stuff. So this will all be included in the MSME. So, and there is an emphasis on the MSME. Okay. So to sum up, we finished the various debt products of the bank. So we know debt products are very important because one, if the bank does not lend, it is not actually making any profit. We've seen the main function of the bank is financial intermediation, that is getting the surplus and the deficit sector together for channelizing the funds. So if the bank doesn't lend, it will not make any profit. There are various ways for the bank to lend. It can lend project finance, working capital finance, fixed asset financing. Then especially the government asks the bank to lend to the MSME segment because they are and the rural sector. So agriculture and rural and MSME sector are the priority sector where the government pays special emphasis for the bank to lend money to this sector. So that is about debt products. So I think we will take a break here. And get back by 11:55 and then start the digital innovation of NBFCs. Okay, so let's meet at 11. Okay. So are we there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So let us start with NBFCs. NBFC stands for non-banking finance company. So as the name says, it means that they are companies which offer some kind of financial service, but they are non-banking. That means they are different from banks, right? So we've seen the main function of a bank is financial intermediation, distribution of third-party products, and settlement and payment system. Now, if you look at NBFCs, they cannot be a constituent of the payment and settlement system because they do not accept demand deposits. Okay, if they don't accept demand deposit, that means they cannot issue checks. Checkbooks are issued only for demand deposit, which they are not allowed to accept. So, the NBFC performs all the other functions which a bank performs. That means they can borrow, they can lend, they can also distribute third-party products, but they cannot accept demand deposit, and therefore they cannot be a part of the payment and settlement system. So that is the main difference between NBFC and banks. So we know Indian financial space is full of diversity. The investment of money or skill in a business is called capital. From daily wage earners to soft businessmen on corporate boards, to start and run business, businesswomen, businessmen need money. So capital is the wealth in the form of money and other assets, either owned by a person or organization, available for a purpose, that is starting a company or investing. So we know that capital or money is required for everything. Anything you do, even a small business, if you have to do, even you have to have, the famous pakode ki dukan, this was like the Prime Minister was hugely told for this comment. I don't know if it was the Prime Minister or Amit Shah, but whoever made this statement was trolled for this, like you should open pakode ki dukan. So place selling small commodities, for that also you will need money. But again, they are important because they will generate certain kind of employment, right? Even if they don't generate employment for too many people, at least they will generate employment for you. So if you open a small stall, a tea stall, you will at least generate employment for yourself, right? So for anything to start, you need to you need money. So to open a food stall at railway station, to open a stationery shop, to open a restaurant, to run a 500 employee IT company, for everything you need money. And a different kind of capital is required in today's term. Human capital also, or the people who will be employed with you. So all business require capital to start operation. It can be financial capital in terms of investment loans, equity from shareholders, intellectual know-how. I do not know how many of you will agree with Virat Kohli, especially losing captaincy for T20. So I don't know how many of you think Virat Kohli is the right example. So anybody has a contention for Virat Kohli as human capital? No?
No,
I
ma'am.
thought you will be interested in discussing this topic, huh? Not interested in cricket?
No, ma'am.
No. Oh, how boring you guys are. What do you do otherwise?
No, obviously not in cricket, but in some other fields.
Okay. All boys, Karthik, Kevin, not interested in cricket.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Interested.
Interested. So what do you have to say about Virat Kohli losing his captaincy in T20 to Rohit Sharma?
It's good, ma'am. He could focus on his batting now. More on batting.
Okay. So for running a good company, you also need intellectual or human capital. So if you remember in the last topic when we were discussing the various kind of analysis done by the banks, the bank also looks at the capability of the management or managerial capacity capabilities. Yeah. So you need human capital, natural capital. So advantage of geography and social capital. This capital we know is required for capital expenditure. Capital expenditure, like capital market, is long term. So money required to be spent on plant, machinery, land, building, etc. is a fixed capital. So this capital needs long-term period for start returns and startup. Then working capital. Why will you need working capital?
Yes, ma'am.
Why will you need working capital?
Working capital is the current
To run a business.
To run a business. For short-term expenses, you will need working capital. So working capital is the need for fund for daily needs of the business, like salaries, raw material, utility bills. So this type of capital investments get realized during the business cycle once the sales is realized. So now why we are reading it is like not everybody might have access to bank finance, because bank, because it is governed by RBI, has very stringent, even NBFCs are governed, some of the NBFCs are governed by RBI, but the norms for them is little relaxed, right? Bank have a different kind of working structure, different kind of regulations, and not everybody might have access to bank finance. Therefore, the NBFC step in to fill in the gap. Banks, for example, will not go and open their shops or their branches in very small areas. NBFC might still do it. So therefore, NBFC also fill in the gap in this capital generation. And then there might be focused NBFCs who, give finance to that particular sector. So diverse business have diverse and complex needs for financial capital. Diverse need for capital means different parameters to access the genuinity of need. So NBFC originated to fulfill the capital needs of those who were not funded by the bank. So peculiarity in capital needs of different business and individual gave scope to NBFCs to spread business wings. Also, rural area might not be completely serviced by banks. So there are NBFCs which which specialize in rural finance. So rural bank areas remain bereft of banking access for years. So being an agrarian economy, the need of capital keeps on changing season-wise, crop-wise. And the need of capital is different at different stages of value chain. So we know a farmer may need loan for buying seeds and fertilizers. A trader needs working capital to purchase higher volumes and make profit. Then you might have a construction equipment machines. Owners not require capital expenditure support for purchasing machine. Garment traders would need working capital to keep more stock during peak season. So these are some examples of a credit requirement in the rural areas. So we have understood the working of a bank. So bank is an organization So if you have a problem with LMS, Swati, you'll have to get in touch with Sakshi. I will not know the administrative aspect of LMS, but you should get it because it should be available to everyone. So we've seen the function working of a bank. Bank is an organization where people and business can invest or borrow money, change it to foreign money, etc. It may be a building where services are offered. In today's time, that is also not required. You have virtual banks as well. This we have seen many times. Bank act as an intermediary between those who have surplus money and those who need it. So many sources of funds for the bank. The liabilities, it can be promoters funds or equity or even debt. Then saving account and current account, which are the demand deposits for the bank, and term deposits. So investment made by promoters of the bank to start a business, saving account and account facility for individual to keep money safe for short term to medium term horizon of keeping. Then current account held by businesses or individual involved in business for daily business transaction. Stability of funds is highly predictable. Then you have term deposit, which is long-term money deposits kept with banks by individual or by non-individual. So we've seen these kind of deposits. So saving account balance at an aggregate level are vulnerable to fluctuation. To counter this unwarranted fluctuations, the majority of banks ask customers to keep a minimum average monthly quarterly balance in their account. This is average balance required and not the minimum balance, which have to be kept in the account at all times. We've seen saving account are demand liabilities because the customer can withdraw it anytime he wants. So depositor can demand money anytime. So some of you might feel that I'm going a little fast. Actually, I am, because all these things we have seen many times. Okay. Anybody who's not understanding this या जिसको ये समझ नहीं आ रहा है? Multiple times, but we have done it many times, and that's why I'm going a little fast. So higher balance the customer keeps in an account, better the service the bank offers. And this I've, if you've browsed through the various accounts variants, you would have seen. So this comes along with many products at economical prices. Term deposit are time deposit, also known as fixed deposit. They can be opened by individual or non-individual. Fixed deposits can help park long-term surplus fund without any risk. These funds are redeemable after a specific time and attract higher interest rate for the depositors. So due to fixed time element, they are called time-bound liability for the bank. So banks assure of keeping funds safely, provide incentives in term of interest. Interest is paid on saving and term deposit is an expense for the bank. We've seen this is a major expense for the bank. More stable and fund duration, higher the interest paid by banks. So we know a bank pays a higher interest on demand liabilities, on term liabilities. On one demand liabilities, the bank does not pay any money. So current account is a demand liability, bank does not pay any money. So demand liabilities are volatile funds with banks. Time liabilities are stable funds with the bank. So highly volatile, we have seen current account is the most liquid. So volatile means moving fast. So we know that the balance in current account moves very fast, does not stay with the bank for a long time. Moderately volatile, saving account balance. So purpose is saving, people keep money. and unless unnecessarily don't take out the money from their account. And term deposit are reasonably stable. Customer will close the account only in case of dire need. So two main tasks of the bank management is to keep the interest expense low and to keep the fund stable. So big heterogeneous mix of current account and saving account helps that. And then this is the sources of fund. Bank uses this fund for giving loans. So bank deploys the funds to financial assistance provided to individual for overcoming shortage of funds. The bank can charge different rate of interest. And if you've seen the products of the bank has many different products, and the bank charges different rate of interest depending on the tenure and the risk of that loan. So why will the bank charge interest? The bank will charge, obviously, if somebody is using your asset, you charge interest. You know, even if your own brother or sister uses some of your things, you will ask some kind of favor or some kind of interest. You know, so okay, fine, I am giving you my bag to use for a day, but you will have to make tea for me. So I'm sure these kind of transactions you guys will do with your own relatives as well. So if somebody uses somebody's assets, you have to repay it by something. So the bank is giving its money to the customer. The customer will definitely have to pay an interest. Also, there's a risk. The risk is also there whether this money will come or not. So that's why. So to cover risk of non-repayment, to cover inflation in the economy, and postponement of desire. So we have seen this many times. The main inflow of income for the bank is the interest income. So interest income on loans to make profits. This interest rate has to be higher than interest paid by the bank to the entities which have kept money with it. Now, if the money which the bank has lent doesn't come back, obviously it will result into bankruptcy. Bankruptcy means not having enough money to pay to your creditors. Who are the bank creditors? Who are the creditors for the bank?
Customer.
Fast.
Customer.
All customers are creditors to the bank. You have to be specific. Which kind of customers?
Ma'am, deposit customers.
Yeah, deposit customers are the creditors for the bank. Loan customers are not. Or a person who's buying insurance from the bank is not. The person the people who keep deposit with the banks are creditors for the bank. So inflow for the bank is interest, outflow is also interest. So interest paid on saving account, term deposit. Funds out of time and demand liability should be stable enough. The bank need not call back all the loans funded in case majority of the customer want their funds back. So bank has to maintain liquidity because the people who have kept the money with the bank can withdraw it also. Apart from that, from interest income, the bank also has commission income or operating income, which comes from the various services provided by the bank. So fee income is the second largest contributor of income to the bank, earned as a commission on forex and trade fee, commission on sales of insurance, commission on sales of mutual funds. Other expenses can be salary, rent or any kind of fees payable, that can be miscellaneous expenses. But the main expense for the bank is the interest income. So again, this is also a revision. We have seen this. You have the RBI, then you have the scheduled banks, which can be further classified as commercial banks and cooperative banks. Commercial banks are formed with the aim of making profit, whereas cooperative banks are formed for specific benefit of the society. Then you have the public sector banks controlled by the government, private sector banks held by private parties, but obviously they'll have to, all banks will have to follow the guidelines and the regulation of RBI. So public sector banks, foreign sector banks, which are their registered offices outside India, regional rural banks for the development of rural economy, small finance bank, as we were speaking about, to meet the fund financing requirement of smaller businessmen, and payment banks. What are payment banks? What are payment banks?
Banks who do not lend.
Banks who do not lend, yes. And what else? They don't have a physical presence. They're virtual banks. And also the maximum amount of deposit they can accept is 2 lakhs. It used to be 1 lakh, but it has been revised to 2 lakhs. So payment banks can't lend. They don't have a physical presence, and there is a limit, and or they have to necessarily invest their money in government securities. So this we have seen as function of bank. So this we have seen a lot of times. तो अब अगर हमसे कोई पूछेगा कि बैंक का फंक्शन क्या है, I do not want to tell you कि वहां पे अकाउंट भी ओपन होता है, वहां पे चेकबुक भी मिलती है, वहां पे डिमांड ड्राफ्ट भी बनता है. You have to use this terminology to talk about the functions of the bank, right? Do you think now by reading this you'll be able to give a better answer to the question, what does a bank do, or what do you understand by a bank? Right? No answers like we open account, it also gives loan. No, it's a financial institution involved in accepting deposits and lending out loan. It also perform agency function like collection of check on behalf of the customer. It also sends, sells third-party products as an agent of other companies. So public sector banks, we know that are banks held by the government, major shareholding of the government, और वहां पे काम करने के लिए you will have to clear your IBPS. So the only way to get entry into a public sector bank is IBPS. However, in today's time, public sector banks are also recruiting laterally. That means at a later level. So if you have a proper work experience in a private sector bank, you can still get entry into public sector banks. Okay, so all of you can have the opportunity